do want everybody to know, just as we get started, and I'll say this again, that I'm super excited to have the panel that's joining us today for a variety of reasons. One, because I love to be able to learn from those of us that are around us that are being successful. I think you'll hear a lot about that from them today, which is pretty exciting. And the second reason is because that means I don't have to talk the whole time, which makes it doubly exciting for me. Those that know me really well, you talk a lot, and usually that's just because I'm nervous. So thank you all for coming today. Really excited about today. All four of these individuals I've had a chance to get to know quite well over the years. Some as clients, some in networking events and sponsors at a lot of other events around the real estate community locally. And so I'm really excited to give you a chance to get to know them too. A little bit of business right as we go to get started. Everybody should be able to see the little intro page here, right? Scaling your REI business. Good. So just to give you a little bit of introduction and greet through ourselves, what I'd love to do with, that would be my bad. We'll jump over here. Is introduce the team. So Maria's hiding. So Maria, say hi. She told me she could stay hiding.
I am a franchise partner with Jeff. I am a real estate agent as well. And I also deal with...
I'm also one of the franchise partners for Cyberbacker, Maryland. DC, Delaware is what we service. I'm also a speaker, public speaker by profession, and trainer. I love to train out of a lot of different businesses, and that's what I've been doing for over 30 years in Fortune 500 companies. And I'm a leadership. Thank you all for having me today. Thanks for joining. Most of you are here because you know us through Cyberbacker, Maryland, or you know some of these other investors that we have on the call. So thank you for coming. But if you don't know who Shara or Irene are, Shara, come off and tell everybody what you do.
Hey everyone, happy Thursday. My name is Shara. I'm actually the growth backer here at Cyberbacker, Maryland. So I'm part of the sales team in here. So I do meetings and helping them evaluate their business so I can help them to figure out the job description and all that. So yeah, thanks for coming today.
Awesome. Shara is really a big part. Like she likes to diminish what she does, but the other word for growth backer is sales manager. And so she handles all of our follow-up client calls and really helped everybody get here today. So thank you. Irene, welcome. Tell us what you do.
Hi there. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Irene. I'm part of the Cyberbacker Maryland. Do is to match clients with cyberbackers who share the same values. That's it. Thank you.
There you go. And she is our interview queen, goes through thousands and thousands of applications to help make sure that those of us that are looking for virtual assistants find the perfect match for our team. So Cyberbacker gets over 40,000 applications in a month, and Irene's the one that roots through them all. So these are some of the clients that obviously if you're one of our clients, you should see your logo on here. Thank you all for being here and for giving us a chance to work with so many different industries. So last month, we talked about recharging and unwinding going into the vacation, and obviously even into the school year is a good kind of take a deep breath. You got a month left before it gets started again. If you didn't catch it, let us know. If you want a link, share that with you. In the meantime, what I'd love you to do is take a moment and for a small, quick reflection. And what I want you to do and to realize is, why are you here today, right? Like, everybody came for a reason. This isn't the first time you've heard about real estate investing. And today was important to you for some reason. And so take a moment, think to yourself, and get out a pen and write it down, right? What did you come to learn today? Because when we identify what we came to learn, and we'll often start to pick up those nuggets inside of the mastermind shop. And even more importantly, you throw it into the chat, what you came to learn today is, if somebody doesn't bring up exactly here, we can make sure to turn that into a question, because we will have a Q&A available, some time available at the end to ask off of our panel list more questions about something deeper that you may need to know. Because everybody's here for a different part of their journey. Some people haven't bought an investment property yet. Some people already have a dozen. There might even be some people on here that have more than some of our panels of investors, but everybody knows that when we give ourselves an opportunity to talk with others that are doing what we want to be doing, or doing what we are doing, we're going to pick up some golden nuggets and learn from each other. All right. So a recent survey said 90% of millionaires invest in real estate. 90% of millionaires have invested in real estate. That's a pretty significant number. Also significant, 6% of the top 400 billionaires attribute the bulk or most of their earnings to real estate. which is quite astounding. And then 100% of the attendees for this mastermind will be receiving value from these lists. I guarantee it. I've talked to everybody here already. So let's jump down it here. So alphabetical order, but also because we want to make sure that we put the prettiest one first. Diana, why don't you come on? Give everybody an opportunity to really kind of introduce yourselves and give like a 2 to 3 minute bio of who you are and what it is that got you into real estate, bringing it back as we introduce each other player. But Diana, why don't you get us started? What got you into real estate? How did you get started here?
I like my, but I will say that first, thanks for calling me the prettiest. It's really easy to be the prettiest with Ryan on the call, but you know, it is what it is. So I actually got into real estate right out of college. Accidentally, I was going to go to law school and I decided that I should get some experience working for a law firm. And as I think most investors have learned, there's quite a lot of investment in law overseeing. So I started working at a firm. Apparently it was actually just run by investors and realtors and they're making money. And I got my first taste of seeing what it's like in real estate, able to kind of grow. And that was 15 years ago and I never stopped.
Wow. Well, there we go.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And law school for a little bit. And now I've been out of law school years and I'm actually in Chicago. I'm about to win an award for being named top lawyer in the country under the age of 40 out of top 40 in the country. So, and I think I'm one of like 2 that actually does real estate. So
yeah, if you didn't, I was going to. What do you need to do to be recognized as a top 40 under 40 in the US? I mean, that's I mean, Ryan and I were talking about it before you jumped on. It just says that you're a little bit smarter, at least a little bit smarter than both of us combined. But what did you need to do to get recognized for that? That's amazing.
So I got involved with the American Bar when I was in law school and recognized for this, nominated by others. So other people in the industry nominated an email about a year and a half ago that said that I'd been nominated among thousands. Like it was like 10,000 people. And I was like super excited because I was like, well, top 10,000, you know, that's something and all that's incredible. And then I found it. And I guess they through an entire interview process. We talked about what I do with how I hire. It was a very intense interview process. And then a year ago, and now I get that little throne for at least another year. And I got a couple more years. Maybe I'll repeat it again before I turn 40.
Yeah. Well, congrats again. And thank you for making the time for this because, you know, what y'all don't know is she's literally stepping out on her break to be on this call. So I appreciate it very much. Okay, so Ken, you're next. Ken Siew. So Ken Siew and I, we've been talking off and on for a couple of years. I've been following you closely. Ken, why don't you, with 302 house buyers, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you did to get started in real estate investing?
Sure. So my name is Ken Siew. I grew up in Malaysia. I came here for college back in 2008. Back then I could barely speak English. It was pretty kind of tough coming here, but for some weird reason, I was the crazy one who decided to tell my parents that I'm gonna fly 30 hours to the world to kind of find something here. But my background was I was an actuary working in New York, so I was the guy. Kind of couple years into it, I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do, you know, and I spent so much time trying to chase a dream. But when I decided that that wasn't what I was going to do, investing course. I don't know if anyone knew about Dean Graziosi. Back then he had this is 2010, kind of dating myself too. So Rock Blueprint, because that was the bottom of the market back then. And I still had a full-time job and I started making bank-owned properties on short sales. Back then you could get deals off the MLS if you make enough offers. And I was doing lunch break after work on the weekend. So my first deal done is I actually had to borrow 90 grand from a friend because I had to like close on it. So I made like 10 or 15 grand out of it. So that was my proof of concept and kind of jump-started my sort of career in real estate. And then our partnership, kind of long story short, a few years there. And then basically back in 2018, I decided to building by myself. took a leap of faith on spending a bunch of money on marketing, didn't know what I was doing. So, it started working a little bit, and then fast forward, 5, 6 years now. So we run, we're a small state, right? Delaware. So, compared to some other places, it might not mean a lot, but we run the largest wholesaling flipping business for residential in Delaware. We do about 5 to 10 deals a month, and we have a lot of room to grow. And I'm here to learn as much as you. But I guess my message shows you how estimated or overestimated in 1 year and underestimated what I could do in 5 or 10 or 20. So that's kind of my story of how I got here.
That's fun too, is like you mentioned that your first deal happened while you were a job, you were making calls, found your first deal, and then how before you got your second deal? It's pretty quick, right?
Time, because I was busy at work, so I was 7 to 7 at a corporate job traveling. I was a road warrior, so it was tough, and I had my girlfriend who's my wife. So I think it was like 6 months or so before I got my second. That actually still kept that house in value since then, but I still have it.
Yeah, and I was kidding. Yesterday was almost a year before your second one. So
yeah, I did some math. I did some math afterwards. So.
Which is more impressive in my opinion, right? Because right after you got your second one and you started moving through it, you decided it was time to burn the ships, and you just all in, right?
Yeah, I don't recommend anyone doing that, but I basically just quit my job, and my old boss told I could come back anytime, so I wasn't worried. But I just burned my ship and tried to figure it out my way.
So 2 deals in 6 months, and you went all in. Great. Well, thanks for being here, kid. We'll get back to you in just a little bit. All right, Nick. So I've known you quite a long time too. Nick was a real estate agent at a brokerage that we were at when we first met about 6 or so years ago. And at the time, Nick, you had anything you had just gotten your license, didn't property, but tell us how did you get started? What made the change?
So I was in college. I had to go to law. I wanted to become a lawyer. I didn't have enough funds to pay for school, so I just went to grad school as an alternative. And during grad school, my last semester of grad school, I enrolled because I wanted to become a realtor. I had a landscaping business that I was time, so I was juggling different things for someone else. So that's why I got into real estate. I became an agent, and then I go into the real estate office more often, and everyone in the office would say, "Nick, what are you doing here? You're not going to sell any deals by sitting in the office. You got to go out and meet people." And then I just kept thinking about the life cycle and how we all do the same thing. The people around us do the same thing over and over again, and then, they may have some money to have fun with and may not. If they do, they may be too old to enjoy what they would want to do if they were younger at that point. So I thought about what I could do to start making some passive income. And, real estate came to mind there that I wanted to become a real estate investor. And one of my buddies who also had a landscaping business out of Dundalk, Maryland, reached out to me. He was working with a landscaping. She had inherited, I think it was 4 properties. I told her she was down to her last property, and met her at the property and brought an off-market contract that I got from another realtor from our office. He was very helpful with that and was able to close on the deal. And then the next, how do I fund this deal? And on 2 steps ahead, I always focused on what was right in front of me. And the first step was finding that deal. I got that deal, and the next step was finding the money. I was denied hard money by 4 different lenders. It was probably 4 or 5 different lenders before I finally landed on the lender and that was largely because I didn't show good tax returns for these lenders to trust, someone like me to purchase the property, because I never had owned any property in the past. And luckily I found a guy who would lend to me, and I bought that first property. And then the next step was finding contractors, because it was needed some renovation. Once I got through that stage, it was the refinance, and it was essentially the BRRRR strategy of, real estate. And that's what I stuck to over the years.
Yeah. And so what excites me about you for things, first thing is what you mentioned about talking to your buddy, right? Like you had a buddy that reached out to you and told you about a deal. There's just happenstance. He just happened to call you because he knew he knew you were investing, huh? Just happened to, or did you? How many people did you talk to before you found that deal?
I was just putting the word out, telling family, friends, other realtors in the office that I wanted to buy one. I didn't know what that looked like, where it was going to come from. But when I got a call from my friend who was working with the client with landscaping, and she had inherited houses, and I thought maybe that was a good opportunity. So I jumped on it and I reached out to her to buy them. And that was my very first one, 2018.
Yeah. So you were telling people that that was your intent, right? Not only was it a goal of yours, and as a result, when somebody came across something that they thought might fit, they contacted you. You probably had other people contact you that didn't have something that was a good fit, and finally, this buddy reached out, worked, and hit the numbers, and you were able to make work. The other, what you just shared is, you kept referring to it as the first property. I mean, you didn't even have your own house when you bought your first rental property, right?
Correct.
Now, how many
Yeah,
rentals
actually
did you
bought
have before you bought your own physical property where you moved into?
7.
Wow. Okay. Right. A bit different than I think a lot of people's house buying journeys and stories. You had 7 investment properties before you bought your own personal home. All right. Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks for bringing back in just a moment. Ryan, Mr. Greenberg.
Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Well, I'm taking a little of a break from being tired by watching your social media posts. We can talk about that a little bit more as we go along today, but the inspiration on your social media for sure. So how did you get started?
So I actually started as a at that, and basically thought that I was going to make this career as a teacher, and I became a boat captain. I'm a 3rd generation boat captain. My dream was to do, my school teaching and then running boats in the summertime. You do that for money and teaching school and running boats. So basically, during my journey, met somebody, kind of like time working for somebody, just as his private captain. The guy next door on this boat, this old man, just kind of invited me over for dinner, started mentoring me on just different things, testing one of them. From there, he ended up giving me a loan to buy some properties. I found a business partner. It was the first thing I did, was somebody doing what I wanted to be doing. We're still partners today. So basically found that partner and started buying rental properties. And from there, we grew it to a property management company, a construction company, now partners with Diane on a real estate brokerage, and obviously our real estate holdings on top of it. So
It's awesome. That's impressive.
It's a quick one.
Well, I mean, you made it quick, and I'm sure it was a much longer journey than that. When we were talking before, one of the things that really jumped out to me about what you said here is you had somebody that was able to mentor you, and you had an angel investor. But Ryan, how in the world could I do what you do?
I mean, when I say angel investor, it happened to be somebody that I didn't even know had money, took a liking to what I was doing, working on this boat. And I just built a relationship with them. The first thing was, oh, hey, here, I have a lot of money. Let me lend it to you. I built a relationship with this guy for a long time that I was working on these boats. It wasn't like a transaction. And he mentored me, and he saw like basically my ability for him to make money on it too, because he was lending me with interest, of course. So I would say, it wasn't necessarily an angel investor, somebody that I built a relationship with because he was an older, smarter person that I can learn from.
Yeah. Which is again, it's kind of what Nick said. It's what Ken said. It's what Diana said, right? It's making the calls and finding the people who will be able to put you in touch with or connect you to or help you along this journey for the goal that you set for yourself, which wow, right? Like find that goal. Ken said it, he did much in his first year. He thought be able to get done in 5, right? He had a bigger expectation for himself in his first year and accomplished more than that in 5. And like you're growing your business, you're talking to people about what it is that you want to grow. You get into a mentorship, you start listening to those that are successful around you. and came along, right?
Yep, exactly.
I love it. And I love that both you and Diana and Ken have all a lot about vertical integration. Nick, you didn't bring that up, I don't think, but I know that you've also got property that you're doing inside of your investments too. And so we're going to open that back up, and everybody come in as we go through. Side of the businesses that like, you know, everybody started talking about their first one or two, and then some as they've grown. Nick, you only got to 7. For those that don't know, Nick's at 92 right now, 92 investment properties. So for everybody that's here and growing, like, when did it really start to feel like it was changing? You went from investor and becomes.
I'm gonna chime in and say that I think you asked me this question prior to today, and I don't think anybody on this can say they've made it, and that's why we're silent, because I think we're all still growing, right? For me, it changes. I think when I first started getting into real estate, I didn't really feel sound enough to jump in. I didn't, it was, I need to pay my bills, or I need to provide for my kids. And then when I started noticing this, the conversations changed. It wasn't, how do I support my kids? What do I do next? And I said that we have quite a few businesses together. We're working on a few other adventures, and I don't think we've made it, right? But we're not even talking books anymore. We're talking. So anybody successful, at least on this phone call, is going to stay a little quiet when you ask that question, because I don't think any of us have felt like we've made it. At least I certainly don't. Not yet. Ask me again in 5 years. Maybe I'll change my mind.
And I think that's as a big testament to the journey and the goal for yourself, right? And for you, I know when we were talking about it yesterday, for you, it wasn't necessarily about the money. It was about what?
I think it's just, I have kids, and I have very young kids, and mine built up a career, but then she always relied on a W-2. So as we got older, she gave a lot of sacrifices for us to be successful. So for me, I want to make sure that I can travel. I want to make sure that I can not on a paycheck and still sort of continue to succeed. And all of my other goals evolve around that. As long as my kids and my family are provided for, I'm allowed to look at professional, flying to Chicago. And, I allow myself set the goal. For me right now, I want to start more publicly. And that's sort of where I've pivoted my career. I've pivoted to coaching, and I'm allowed to do that because my personal goals that are first and right, which is my family and the ability to not work, that I value and attain because I have.
Yeah, and I love that. Just about every time I see you in public at any kind of networking event, your family's there with you. I think I've met your husband at least as many times as I've met you, right? And that's fun because just having the ability to be with your family when you want to be, and to bring your family to the events that you want to bring them to, just speaks testaments to really what was for you. So love that. Thank you for going first.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'll go next. Thank you, Diana. That was exactly what I had in mind when you asked that question. Is I don't feel I made it. It's like I guess it's to a different degree, right? Because in the beginning it was like, how do I pay the bills, right? Survival mode. And I think, Jeff, to answer your question though, for me it was a couple of things happen. I feel like not like I'm super successful, I'm like this amazing person, but I think I can breathe a little bit kind of thing. And work towards the better version of myself is when I have to worry about paying the personal bills anymore. That's first step. Plus also have enough left over or profit or distribute to invest, because we're all investors here, I guess. So to invest towards that few 10, 20, 30-year plan to wealth I want to build. Like I have something I want to get to. And like most of us probably have some crazy high number that's going to take time, but I know that if I keep staying disciplined and work the plan, that I will get there eventually. I think that's when I had that's when I feel like, okay, like I'll get there at some point. I kind of made it in a sense, but it's never enough.
Yeah, and you and Diana said kind of the same thing in the sense that you both said when my investments business is paying my bills, I'll feel the freedom, right? I think what a lot of people into investments for, right, is to whether passively or not passive, have business that is paying the bill. So that way, if you were able to manage it in such a way that you could step away, you wouldn't have to be afraid that your family wouldn't be supplied for. Does that sound fair?
Passive investment to grow to support your want.
Yeah, and so kind of identifying that wealth number, right? What dollar amount do you need to make each month, and then where do we need to go there inside of your specific investment strategy? Because everybody's strategy here, talking about wholesaling and flips and doing 5 actions a month. I know you have some real estate investments as far as some rentals as well. Nick's at 92 rentals. You're at a couple dozen rentals, but a lot more flips and wholesale. So identify investment strategy, the path that you want to take, and then making sure that you're building your monthly to the number that's going to allow you to step back. Great. Thanks, Ken.
Yep.
Green, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, I can go next. I guess I can talk about a breakthrough that I had from where I think my business to the next level, and that was back in 2020 when I was still in the truck, in the landscaping truck, going out each day, working 8 to 10 hour days, cutting lawns. And we were getting ready to have our daughter, Lucia, September 20. So I needed to replace myself. And it's not at that point that I decided. I knew I had to replace myself. I just always had a limited thought that no one would do as good of a job as I would. So that kind of pushed me to get out of the driver's seat and hire someone to drive the truck to significantly grow my next year. So in 2020, I bought 8 houses, and then 2021, I purchased 22 houses. So it just shows that, wherever your focus goes is what's, and I wanted to focus more on real estate because the numbers are greater, build wealth quicker over time than growing, the landscaping business. Granted, I do from the landscaping business. However, there's just are much greater in real estate than most businesses.
What I love about that, Nick, and this is honestly, it's usually one of the hardest things for any of us to do, is what you said in regards to, nobody's going to do this as good as me, right? like you were running your own business, in a business that was successful, and in order for you to grow into the vision that you'd set for yourself, you had to let something. And when you did, you tripled your results the next year.
And I'll add, also, when I bought my 5th property, there was a subcontractor who approached me. He was working a full-time job, but he was also, I want to quit my full-time job. Is there any way you can hire me full-time to work for you? And in the back of my head, I'm like, there's how that is going to, I don't know if I can afford that. I don't know if I have to support one guy working on a construction crew. Says, well, if you hire me, you hire me and my friend. So it'd be 2 of us. Man, if I don't think I can hire one person, what makes you think I can hire? I was like, let's do it. And I did it. And that created a fire underneath it because I knew I had other people relying on me for that and support from,
Yeah. This conversation with myself a lot. Most people don't get a chance to get inside my head, but I'll share a little inside of the head. Every now and then, I might be a little lazy at work. Every now and then, I might not do exactly what it is that I wanted to do that day. Like maybe I had a little to-do list and I didn't finish it. And sometimes on those days, I look back on that day and I look at myself and say, man, like on my own, I do 3-4 different things out there. And would I, if I was working for myself as an employee and this was my job today, would I have hired myself today based on the work I did yesterday? And one of the things that I found that keeps me honest with myself, by the way, is that when I have, it's hard to hide and make excuses for not doing the hard work. Am I right? Like, rely on me now, not just myself, people in my life and families that rely on me and the business in order to be successful. And and succeed. That's it. And one that we can't take lightly, right? Like when you hire people, be willing to pour it in, make sure and your people are successful. Yeah, love that you brought that up. Thank you.
All right, I guess I'm next.
If you want to.
So
What do you
yeah,
Count the fire.
yeah, no. So I think what is the definition of making it. I don't really know because the goalpost every time we think we hit what we thought our goal was going to be, it keeps, what do we do next? So people, I think, wired like I am, and I know Diana and Nick are, just keep setting a bigger goal. So we didn't make it. We made it from what we thought we were gearing towards ago, but now there's totally different goal concepts. And once we realized we would have enough comfortably, stress day kind of living paycheck to paycheck things that the last bit of my teaching career, I was paying an assistant to help do my admin work, the same base salary that I was making as a teacher. So I was literally paying somebody to do a job that should have been probably just doing myself while working at another job. One of the breakthrough moments, breakthrough moment was when we did quit teaching. My business partner and I were both teachers. We quit, kind of went and we're going to just work really hard. We're going to quit and we're going to focus on the business. And then that next year we doubled our revenue, cleared up so many inefficiencies, and that was just because we were able to be present. So that would be my kind of big break moment.
Again, present, focus, and move forward. Come up yet, and you paying somebody else your salary is kind of a great time to bring that up. Even moving into success for you, success hasn't always felt like success. There are a couple of times you realized your bank account was next to zero, and you were afraid business might have to declare bankruptcy. So walk us through that a little bit, and what was going through your head, and where did you go? How did you get there?
Yeah, so sometimes you get happy, you do one deal, it goes really well, and then you're getting into another deal. And at the time we were starting our construction business and realized how intensive it was. Keep up with the material costs each month and wait to pay you. Hopefully everybody pays on time, but don't. It's a $10,000 that could be a big problem. And I remember one summer we were kind of just looking for how we kind of went under contract on two. One, we couldn't get financing for it was the last second deal, so we paid cash for it. So it's not like we didn't have the assets, but at the time we were new and we didn't really know. And it's not real estate, not a fast liquidable asset, right? You can have the equity. We owned this at that time. We couldn't do anything. Turn it to pay the credit card off, to pay the that were working for us. So there was a few times where that happened in the beginning before we realized how much net kind of that we needed to keep around to keep the business operating smoothly without stressing financially. And even now it still happens bigger scale, and most of the time you're fine in this situation. When you grow it to scale, you always have some sort of reserve somewhere. Back then I had nothing. We had a teaching salary that would have taken probably dozen years to pay back the debt that we had, on different projects and stuff. So it's definitely a scary thing. So got to keep track of all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it feels like they lie in business, right? That as you're getting moving, that it stops being stressful. But in reality, like the really successful businesses, the one that seem to grow the fastest, are even more. They're reinvesting those reserves in order to buy assets, need to grow the business, right? Those that just sit back and continue to take the money, like you never actually felt. I mean, everybody has actually just said already that they still don't feel wealthy, but at the you weren't living a life of luxury, even businesses that were making millions.
I lived in a house with roommates that we bought and we were going to flip, and then finance basically just covered our rent that way, or our mortgage that way. My business partner and I rented out the other room's house, off car that I ended up using until it kind of died. Then got a truck to work with. I was very minimal spending. I didn't do anything extravagant. I was just working so much that I didn't have time to do anything anyway for those years that I was building. So yeah, we kept the expenses. Just recently, honestly, we started spending a little bit of money and enjoying it. But for several, 7 years, we were just saving and building and being as
So being
Can I add something to that, Jeff?
in house hacking. Yep, go ahead.
So I think I just want to add that, like, Ryan and I've had these conversations quite a lot. It's very difficult to sit and hear somebody speak and be like, well, that's easy for them to say because they don't have these personal qualms. And I think I really want to speak to the fact that I've been there, and it sounds like Ryan has too. And it's not about, can you afford your first rental or can you afford to throw this at? It's a mindset, right? I've made it now, and now I'm taking bigger jumps every single time because I'm now financially able to do so. But I think you're hearing from all of these panelists, and if you're sitting here thinking, how do I do that first one? It's a lot of sacrifice, right? It's a lot of, no matter where you are in your age. If you've got kids, it's a different sacrifice than if you're in your 20s. But I've got a lot of young employees, and I always tell them, I just helped my 23-year-old employee help buy a house. And you know what? It's not really financially feasible for her, but it's a 5-year, 6-year, 10-year goal set. And if you're thinking about it that way, make the sacrifices with what you have going on. It's a mindset. It's not about financial ability.
And it could be continuous sacrifices along the way, right? I mentioned earlier, I did some Fortune 500 work. I worked with Fortune 500 companies, a large part of my career. And there were several companies I worked for that literally the books were in the red every single month. At any point, if we stopped investing into the company in order to grow, we would go into the black, right? But because we kept investing in our businesses, we never felt like we were in the black, even though we were making millions and millions of dollars per sales team or whatever. And then in my own personal life, same type of story. It took me a long time, by the way, to convince my wife, and I still haven't fully convinced her. I started convincing her by saying we're going to focus on vacation rentals. And vacation rentals is a lot sexier to her than long-term rentals in the one space. But it took me a long time to convince my wife that that's what our savings should be used for, a down payment on another rental, right? And it's not always the easiest. A lot of us have grown up with a different psychology of money. That money is our security, it's our safety net, and that if we don't have it, we should be scared. And really, money, as being described by you all, money, if you're looking at it the right way, is a resource, and it's a tool to start earning more money. Is that what I'm hearing?
Realistically, yeah, I could lose at any time, right? And I think a lot of my experiences, because my parents were very well off and then they moved to the United States, so they gave up a lot for me to be here. But with that opportunity, they lost all financial ability to like their own. And I think it's very easy for people to feel very comfortable when they're making a lot of money and saying that they've made it. But the realism really is that I think at least the people that I know who are leading this call are going to say, you can make it back. And I think that's the mentality that we've gotten is you can lose it all anytime. Nothing's guaranteed. COVID can come back. It can shut down. Your investments can shut down. But the mindset of I can make it back, I just need to work for it, is what at least drives me.
Yeah, it's just another $1,000, just another $10,000. We can make that next week, right? Or whatever the time frame. It is something that we can earn. It's a renewable commodity. Sure. Now, Diana, keeping it with you for a moment, because this goes into something that you mentioned to me before, and that is you had said, like, as we're building this machine that you've built, you realized your life was a little overwhelming. You had a lot of different things going on. And speaking of being able to get your money back and not necessarily wanting to be able to give it up once you've built something big, became overwhelming. You told me a story about your kids coming to you and happened. Yeah.
Who knows me on this call or has worked with me, they know that I like to micromanage and I'm everywhere and I do quite a lot. But the issue is that sometimes when that success gets to you, you don't want to let it go because you do it a one way. And it's very overwhelming to say, oh, I'm going to pick on Nick. If I brought Nick on to DK Law, he's never done a legal case. Like, how are you going to handle it? I struggled with that. And I started growing to a degree where I was working quite a lot to just kind of up everything. And at that time, I had no actual social media presence, which is, I think, adds to that conversation piece. I had no social media presence. I was doing really great. I was financially well off, but I had no help. And I just remember it was like a Thursday and we got an email from my kids' daycare. I have 3 very young kids, 6, 4, and 2. and they were doing every single day the following week for summer camp, and it was last year in the summer. And I looked at it and I was like, I have to buy 15 outfits for my kids. And I was just like, I can't. I was like, I have no ability to sit here and also be a good mom. Like, I don't care if they're dressed like Barney. Like, what? And I just remember I sat in a corner and I just felt so overwhelmed. Like, I can't get through my day. And it was so silly. It was over just, I have to now put one more thing on my day today. And I sent a message to a couple people I know and I said, I'm hiring somebody. I need them to start tomorrow morning and I'm paying, I think I said like an hour. And I didn't even think about it. I was just like, I hired somebody I didn't know. One phone call, she was hired, and I sat there and I was like, I can't afford this. I'm gonna let go of some control. And I hired her the next day. I had hired her in the summer, and it's a year later. I now have, I think, a staff of over 60. And I told myself when I hired her that I would give her 90 days. I was like, I can't afford paying $17 an hour for this much a year or whatever it was. And I said to myself, let me just give 90 days, give it 30 days to just get myself together. I don't even care if she's successful, right? Like, just like, let me just get 30 days to just get my life in order. And then 30 to like figuring out how I'm going to manage without her, and I'll get rid of her. And then in 90 days, I'll wind it down. And I hired her the next morning. She started, she had no experience whatsoever. And she came in and she's like, what do you want me to do? And I was like, here, order 15 costumes. Here's my social security number. Here's a passport application for my kids. Passport had expired like 5 years ago. And she just stared at me like, this woman is unhinged. I am just a little bit. But the moral of the story really was that the moment I freed up my brain from a little bit of the stuff that I had, I started doing more. And in that 1 year, the theme now is when people meet me, they're like, oh my gosh, you're everywhere. And I see you on social media and you're speaking. And by the time December of last year hit, when I started doing my analysis of what I wanted to do this year, I told myself, I want to speak on a nationwide level. And I say yes to speaking events and I'm not going to get paid for them. And I had a goal of speaking at 100 events this year. It is not even September. I've had 175 paid speaking events for the year. And I am speaking at an event, but I'm speaking at an event where Oprah is speaking in March of next year. And
Wow.
yes, I'm good at what I do, but it's also the availability of just understanding that sometimes leveraging and giving up some of that control and saying I could do something for 90 days and see where I am, that risk is worth it. Because again, I started out with one employee last summer and asked her to buy my kids 15 outfits for camp.
Yeah, I feel that. I had a client come to me at one point in time that he just wanted to figure out how to have breakfast with his family 3 days a week. He's working 7 days, 12-hour days. He left before the sun came up and didn't get home until the sun went down. And he's like, dude, I just need to find a way to. And I was like, if we happen to grow your business in the meantime, is that okay? Right. And exactly what you just described is what he went through. And he 10x'd his business in less than 3 years. Right. All of a sudden, he started letting go of things. And imagine the feeling when we realize that other people can do certain parts of our job better than we can, especially if we have enough people doing it. There are certain things that make our business our own and certain things that we probably still haven't let go of yet. Mine is just my dad jokes. It's really the only thing I can't do. I can't get anybody else. But
I love it, Jeff. I love your dad jokes. Don't stop doing it.
I watch them on TikTok, Jeff. You're good.
Yeah.
No. So
cool.
a lot of our business, like certain parts of our business that we can let go. If we can do it, there's a very good chance that there's somebody else out there in the world that can also do it, right? And it's kind of a task as you did, lining up those tasks and then handing it to somebody else that makes that successful. So who else out of our panelists, like, would you realize that hiring people really, I mean, talked about it a little bit already, but really it was bringing on a team to help you lean into your real estate goals, really helped you take off.
Yeah, I have thoughts around it. So for me, because I was thinking about leverage, right? You mentioned the word leverage, and I think as a business owner versus an investor, it might be a slightly different because I'm coming in because I have obviously we're all real estate investors, so I have a lot of real estate investors. I'm in masterminds and talking and figuring out what leverage really means. I think for us is both the people side, which you mentioned, and I'm sure I'll touch on a little bit, but the other side is kind of what Nick does, and also what most of us who kind of for investment $2 million portfolio is the leverage of debt and honestly just buying it. Like I don't think I was talking to a friend of mine, probably got like a net worth, And it wasn't anything crazy or fancy or special or even sexy. He just kept buying properties, not even like a ton of them, but just over time along his career as a real estate investor. And I think sometimes we just don't do the math enough, right? Even for
Yeah.
myself, I'm a math person, but like sometimes I don't do the math enough to see like compounding it over a long period of time, that one house you buy every quarter, every year becomes like this $1 million equity. One day you know, do the calculation, you're like, oh, I'm a millionaire, I'm a multimillionaire. You have to not, for me, it was like, I'm gonna put everything back into the business. I will grow the business, but like I have to make sure my own personal investments come first, because if I don't have anything, if something goes wrong with the business, I'm going down. So
Yeah.
that's my thought on that. And then as far as people goes, like I hiring, like if I have to start all over, man, like it's just hiring an assistant is like number one, because they help you do all the admin stuff, the bookkeeping stuff, just like running around, maybe a runner as well, if to help you so you can focus on the profitable stuff, right? You know, or just any high level, like for some of us might be more recruiting, but without that person that the day to day, I think it's just very hard to like be possible for Diana to scale from 1 to 60 in a year if she didn't have to take care of the personal life. Because sometimes, and here's my thought on this, just because I really wanted people to understand, sometimes it's much easier to outsource your personal stuff first and buy back the time there than try to outsource the business stuff. Because very little risk when someone doesn't do your laundry properly, unless they messed it all up. But most people know how to do laundry. You can have a ton of people who know how to do laundry. Everyone got to cook and eat and clean and do all the stuff. So you have a lot of people to do it. And then you just gain back like 20 hours of your personal time, and then you can put into business. For me, that's like, if you can have personal stuff outsourced first, I would. And usually it's cheaper, you know?
Yeah, great golden nugget. One other thing that I know about you is like hiring with admin, and you've moved into hiring some acquisition and some sales and relationship support, and you're about to take like a week vacation, and your team's just going to do it all. Like you're yourself up right now to not have to do anything. You're gone, right?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be perfect. Like I'm sure there's still some things we're trying to figure out, but this past month has been specifically focused on what can we put in place so that they can operate without me. And I think that helps a lot. Like light fire, the vacation light fire under me, it's like let me get all this stuff done so that they won't call me. And I think part of it, I think, is realizing they could actually do it and just letting go of the control. And obviously I'm still watching it. I'm still making sure, listening to the call and the meeting, make sure they're doing the right things. But I was so surprised that, all the time, but like sometimes I was like, oh, I didn't know that person could take it and run. So sometimes it's just us as, I guess, control freak. Like I'll be the first one to admit that, being a control freak, to like let go and watch, right? Not let go completely, but see if they can actually take it and run. So I'm pretty happy about it.
Everybody on the call, whether a panelist or somebody joining us to learn, I mean, how many has ever felt like a control freak about some things? Hey, I know I have, 100%. Absolutely. So I know the big question that most of us have been waiting for. And one more thing, I think, before we get into that, and I think that's a little bit on vertical integration. Diane talked about vertical integration. I know Diana's talked about some vertical integration. Ken, you've got a few different aspects of your company, but it's not just the real estate investments that have helped you all earn and gain the wealth that you're developing. It's realizing when there was another opportunity inside of your investment growth that you could fill with the right people. Nick, you talked about your construction crew, that you could fill with the right people and either save you money on some of the investment properties that you're for, or working to renovate and rebuild in the BRRRR method, or make you money. Talk a little bit about that, and then we'll ask the last question before we open up for Q&As. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go ahead first. So I'm a realtor, as I mentioned, and that that we act quickly on deals that I do find on the MLS, in terms of being able to reach out to the legion and writing up contracts pretty much immediately. Also with the landscaping business, that actually helps out too, because guys are out, they have eyes on different neighborhoods, different properties that may be distressed that they can let me know of in terms of real estate. And just my construction crew, when they're out also working on houses, there's been just on our call that we had, there's been a couple of times, and these are typically the best deals when your contractor's working on a house and the neighbor comes over and says, hey, are you guys buying houses? And then they'll connect me with the owner. And we've closed a few deals that way, which are really, really nice. That way they're not going to the market, they're not going to wholesalers, they're just going right direct to the seller.
Yeah, again, being in the right place, having a team that's looking for the right thing, and feelers out there, and making sure that you're having the conversations with them to back to you, letting them know what's important. Everybody on the team, and I think it's really, really fun. That means your construction crew, your contractors, just became your acquisition agents. You should give them bonuses for that. By
Definitely at that time. Yep.
Hey, you find me a property, you just made some cash. Yeah, that's awesome. Nick, I don't get anywhere on the call. They didn't hear me say that, but you love it. Cool. Who else? How you vertically integrate?
Mine's gonna be short and sweet. Because for me, it wasn't anything, it became strategic, but it's just over as brand and local presence and there. And people start noticing you, and then they start reaching out to me for but reaching out to you for like coaching, like, hey, can you help me out, mentorship. And I think the thing that kind of spins off from the real estate investment business is a couple things. One is the opportunity to partner with some of the wholesalers, investors, agents that come along that bring us deals that we could even sometimes do a JV deal on. I think that's kind of something that happened. And then the other side of things that I started doing, I focus mainly on my real estate business and investment, but like something I'm doing that coaching. And so we do like the 250K group, because the goal is to get anyone as quickly as possible without killing themselves working, days for 7 days, right? Like, you have to work, but that's smart ways to doing it to get there. And there we share like specific method that we use to run a wholesaling, flipping, rental business. And I think that kind of naturally came about because people started asking like, hey, help me out. And then you kind of don't have time to do it, or it's like, no, what's the time to like do it? But like having a coffee every day eventually added up to like a lot of meetings. So then we just do like a 1 hour call on Zoom to kind of what we do, and that way. It's still not like my main focus right now, but it's just something that I kind of think Diana kind of mentioned before, like fulfilling the word, or learn more as you teach as well. And then I also, back to leverage, right? I leverage the content for more social media stuff to help business, and also honestly for my own team as well. Like sometimes I get the idea from my own team, hey, what do you guys need training on? I'll literally do it on the same call, so then the students can have the same thing, and then the team can have the same training, so I don't have to like do it twice. So kind of fun off.
Yeah, love that. That's awesome. Pay attention, keep your eyes open for opportunities that are coming to you. Yeah, a couple other people are going to talk about that for sure. Go ahead, Diana.
I was going to say, I think leveraging also the people who work for you and what matters to them. So we've talked a little bit about like value add, sort of how I started and what was important to me. But when I started hiring, you can't make the mistake of thinking those around you have the same goal sets. So what made me very successful is talking with employees and talking about what's important to them allows you to leverage what people are good at. I know I've successfully done something in life when an employee of mine will hear what my goals are and make it happen because I'm them to do it in a way that they want to. So most of my successful employees and most of my success comes from the fact that I empower those around me to just do what they want, and then do it in a way where I say, these are my goals, these are your goals, how do we work together? And it helps, right? Like there's certain things that I do now that I would have never done before. I mean, TV, and I'm doing all these like commercials. A lot of that, if you've seen the commercials that I've done, that commercial is not me at all. Like it's funny. I've watched The Office. I've told it screams The Office, but I have a marketing person who said, I've always wanted to make a commercial. And I was like, all right, let's go. And empowering those around you really allows you to sort of
hire the right people, get out of their way. Love that. Yeah.
Yep.
I think I can add to that as well. And hiring is definitely really important in finding high level people to work for you. But I'm also a big believer in partnerships and strategic partnerships with people that will kind of in ways that you're not good at. So what you have and what your value is, and finding other people that would value around you. And you can't hire somebody that will work as hard as somebody that has equity in that venture, whether it's a business, a piece of real estate, whatever. When that person has equity, it makes it a lot different, and they have to work. It's not like, oh, I quit and find another job. It's like, no, we're doing this. This is the thing that we have to do together. So I think partnerships are when you can work with people and find what other people are good at and what you're not good at, and find a place to meet in the middle. I think that's a really powerful tool and strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan and I call each other the Ryan best free employee.
Yeah.
Like best free employee and vice versa. If we text each other, we're calling each other boss, because again, we're pump stuff. So it's like you have to show up, because it's just not going to be successful otherwise.
Yeah, and can, even in an employee situation, there's some businesses out there that that's fully profit or employees, right? So now they are vested, or they give them ownership of a team or a task, and now they're vested, right? Because to your point, Diana, too, between the two of you, and then also with your employees, if they understand how the work that they're doing for you is helping them to hit their goals in life, they're vested, right? Because you care about them hitting their goals, and you're giving them an opportunity to do that through your company. Your company just became the vehicle for their success, which is a lot of fun. That's awesome. Cool. Okay. So start thinking of some Q&As, but one final question for all the panel is this. It's a big one. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in now, 14 years maybe for some of you. If you're just investing today, what would you do first?
I guess I could get started with that. I would say that if I was new and I didn't have money, that's a key right there. So if I didn't have money and I was new, I would find somebody that was a player in the industry that I'm trying to be in. So if it's real estate, go to a real estate meetup, find that seems like they've made an impact in that community, whether it's here in Baltimore or somewhere else. There's always Facebook groups, there's always meetups all over the place. So you can go find somebody and just ask them how you can add value to their life in whatever way it is. So if you want to get into it and you have time to give, you could say, hey, let me help you out with whatever tasks you have to do. In return, I'd like to, do a couple meetings with you, come around to work with you kind of for free. I think, Jeff, I was telling you I had an intern approach me at a speaking engagement that I had for athletes. And he basically just came up to me and he said, I want to do what you're doing. I'll work for you for free all summer. I don't want to get paid. I just want to learn. And he became the best little assistant / intern for company. And we ended up paying him. And he still now comes back each summer while he's finishing school and works for us. So that's, he's in college. He's learning how to estimate jobs. He's learning how to buy real estate, what to analyze real estate. And all he did was came up and offered me a internship.
I love that. Is he your pacer for your triathlons too, if he was an athlete?
Yeah, he would be faster. He'd probably be faster than me.
Which, by the way, is one thing that we talked about as well. And that is, I know one of the things that you said, if you could do it a little bit differently, it would have been to balance your health a little bit higher in that equation through the years.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely easy to health and fitness and everything else kind of go by the wayside when you're trying to build multiple companies and people, wearing multiple hats all day. So it's easy to eat bad and not treat your body well. So that's definitely one thing, the life balance kind of thing is important to recognize for relationships, for just personal growth and happiness. So yeah, I'm glad that's something that I've been able to balance better recently.
Road to Ironman 2025. Yeah,
that's right.
That's awesome.
I'll go ahead and jump in here next.
Yeah.
If I was just starting out, I would hire a mentor. And I know not often when I first started out, I didn't believe in hiring a mentor. I didn't know that could be helpful. I kind of just figured it out on my own, and it may or may not have been a mistake, but the way to get yourself in a better position would be to hire somebody who has done what you want to do, whether that's, the construction company, someone who does flips for a living, someone who owns a big rental portfolio, and find that particular person, because there's so many different avenues in real estate that someone can take to really try to figure out what you want to do. And it doesn't hurt to try different things, wholesale, flip, bold, starting out, and then really determine what you want to do. Also, what Ryan said, going to networking events. Ryan and I, we hold a quarterly networking event for our podcast. And it can be, who aren't that social to come out to these events. So my suggestion would be, you can reach out to me before an event if I'm going to it, or Ryan, or you can reach out to others who say they're going to go to that event and try to introduce yourself if you're new to the industry, just so that when you get there, you're not so, not used to conversating with people. You can, say, oh, remember me? I called you and we had a brief conversation, stuff like that. Networking events, connecting with realtors, title companies, different lenders, private lenders, hard money lenders, long-term debt lenders, and just engaging in, the conversations at events, or just giving someone a phone call. And like I did, the word out there that you want to do this, and, hope someone will reach out to you as well.
And you guys have put something special together with that networking too. So if you all are local to Maryland, DC, Delaware, definitely keep your eye out. We'll show you how to follow their podcast at the end of this call here. And for that event, there's over 200 people there every quarter, meeting each other, shaking hands. That'll into all different elements of real estate investing. So from lenders to hard money lenders to title, everything is to Diana. So great to be. Thanks for bringing that up. So surround yourself with people that will help you to meet your goal and find a mentor. Love it. What else?
So
Ken, good.
I'll go next. Ken, you want to go next? Oh,
No, go ahead, Diana. No problem.
Perfect. So I got probably 4 things, and I think 2 of them have been mentioned quite a lot, so I'm not going to spend too much on them. Again, you heard here, hire a mentor or find a mentor or coach, right? Like if you can afford one, find one. It doesn't have to be somebody who says, I'm a mentor or I'm a coach and come pay me. Exactly. You can learn by being an employee. You can learn by asking them, hey, what can I do to add? Or, mentoring or coaching. But everybody fits your scheme of what you want to do. I think, finding a therapist, for those of you who have had a therapist, right? Not all therapists work for everybody. And it's because if you're smarter than the person in the room, or they don't have the same goals, or they haven't experienced something that you're struggling with, it's not going to be a right fit for you. I don't care if they're the most expensive coach to a person. It's not work. And then for the networking events, you can loop that in with the mentor portion. Go to those networking events, see what people add, see what they contribute, and see how you can go into that room and see what you want to do. I mean, who I was, I knew who he was. I sponsored an event of his, and it went to another. I think I went up to him and I was like, I want to be involved, and it was very similar. There was monetary exchange, but it was inconsequential based on what we've built, and I think that's a huge portion of it. I myself am going to plug, I have the Wealth and Wisdom events, which just started rolling out. We had about 200 investors show up. We had 19 panelists speak about what they want to do, because those at the top are collaborating. And we're now pivoting that into a quarterly investor meetup where we talk about just teaching BRRRR method, teaching how to this. And then Ryan and I are starting what's called the Wealth and Wisdom Insider event, where we have a couple of these bigger names offering, come grab dinner with us or come do this with us. It is a monetary exchange for that, but I think it's worthwhile to sit with it. And then the other 2 I just say is, makes you uncomfortable, and figure out why. Lean into discomfort. If you're feeling uncomfortable with something you're doing, there's a reason why you're sitting with that discomfort. And you may not end up doing whatever it is, but figure out what that discomfort and where it's coming from. Because if it's, I'm not comfortable doing the BRRRR method because I don't know enough about it, that's not deep enough. Like, what don't I know about it? Is it a lack of education? Is it a monetary constraint? Is it I don't have mentorship? Once you know the level, you could choose not to do an exercise, but figure out what it is about your own dynamic that's causing that discomfort and lean into it, because sometimes leaning into our biggest discomforts makes us successful.
I love that, right? Because if you have 2 paths, the easy path or the hard path, the easy path is usually going to keep us where we're at, right? It's not getting us up the mountain for sure.
Right.
Love that. Great. All right, Ken, final thoughts.
Yeah, sure. Actually, what I had in mind was basically what Diana and Ron, Nick have mentioned, right? So I was gonna say, work at a successful company, partner up with successful people by finding a deal. So not crazy there. That's what I wish I would have done, instead of learning through trial and error. But that doesn't work out for you though, because sometimes I know it's easy to say, but it's not that easy to do. right? It's like finding a new job kind of thing. You don't always get the job. If that fails, I think the main thing I would ask myself is really who I want to be and what am I good at? Because I think there's so many things you could do. For me, the first thing is to find the deal, right? So I've seen the people I work with, including myself, is what are you good at? Like a guy who you door knock for sales, and that's the direction he went. And that seems to be working well for him in terms of finding deals, right? You know, closures or rundown properties and things like that. But he had the experience, he had the tough skin, right? And then the other person that I've seen is they love networking. They are like the social butterfly. Then they start calling agents and wholesalers, and that seems to be working well for them. So for me, I think if the first finding someone else to learn from doesn't work out, is figuring out which channel you want to get into and just put as much time and efforts into it as possible to get your first deal done. Because once you kind of put the puzzles together, the first one is always the hardest, right? Once you put the puzzle together, then you know how it's done, then you get the proof of concept. Now you know it, then things gonna start to take off. And if you want to scale it, I think maybe because of my math background and a mentor who kind of to me for scaling is find the formulas in your business. There's like so many of them, but like when it comes to finding deals acquisition, find that formula. And once you find it, put as much momentum into it as possible until it stops working. So,
Yeah,
so I think that was, go ahead.
I was going to say there's a Gary Keller quote that I learned way back, and it's, mathematical certainty, right? And the Jeff Kuhn piece I add into that is as long as you understand your equation,
right?
Understand the equation, put the equation down, and then it's a matter of changing the variable on the equation in order to generate the results that you want to receive.
And sometimes it changes, and you have to figure something out, and that's just business. That's life. So.
All right. Well, thank you. Who's got questions? Let's click the raise your hand button if you have a question. That way we don't have 8 people come off of mute at the same time to ask it. So if you've got some questions you want to ask for the panel, let's take it in this method. Raise your hand. If it's for anybody in the panel to answer, just say this is for anybody. If it's somebody specific, you want to hear more about something that they said, raise your hand. We'll call on you, come off mute and ask that person specifically. Just give them ask them by name. All right. Who's got a question? Raise your hand. You can unspotlight me if you want, Shara. That way I can see the hands. Do I get hands up? No questions? I saw a lot of questions going into the chat. You might want to come off and ask anybody here? Well, I'm going to give it a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you all want to ask questions, it's perfectly okay to come out and ask them. One of the things that I want to do, because this is what we're here for, is again, I hope that everybody came in looking for a way to grow themselves. And so now that we've gone through this, please identify that way. Right? We're going to hang up today. You've still got a few hours left before it's midnight. It's August 1st. It's the back half of the year. What are you going to do today to get started? Okay? Whether you're looking to grow in your business or get started in your business, based on what people have said today, what are you going to do to get started? If you still have questions, we can still ask them, by the way. Like for those that want to start thinking forward, we're getting close to the bottom of our but what will you do today in order to move forward? Look, JK says in the chat, I already took action with someone in the comments to help me find a deal. Love it. Yeah, awesome. That's what we're here for. It's one of the great parts about an event like this. Everybody here is coming off of real estate. I helped coach a commercial real estate group for a week on a big group call for a while. And I think that was one of the most exciting things to me on a call like that is as they were talking about goals, inevitably somebody on almost every week of the call realized that there was another person that was on the call that was going to help them hit their goal, help them achieve what it was that they were working for. So again, that networking that all the panelists talked about, if they were going to get started again today, who am I going to surround myself with that's really going to help me achieve my goals? All that. Okay, we've written that down. Take a peek here. We've got some connections pieces here. We've got the Instagram contacts. Once you get connected through Instagram, almost all of them are going to have links to other parts of their business. So take a screenshot here and make sure you come on and follow our panelists. I'm sure that they can respond to your messages or in other ways inside of Instagram or Facebook, should you have any other questions moving forward, which is great. And then I do want to let you know about a couple of other things, and then I'll turn it off and see if anybody's got any other questions that we could get moving. What you did hear almost everybody here say is that they wouldn't have been able to grow alone. Obviously, I feel that. That's one of the reasons that Maria and I started the Cyberbacker franchise, is because I am a big believer that we can't grow alone. All about finding the people that you surround yourself with, trust in order to grow. Nobody makes $1 billion on their own, right? There's not a single person out there that's ever done that. And what is important here is to figure out who you're going to surround yourself with. And then how can you hold them accountable? And so if you haven't done it yet, check out the Take 5 book, and feel free to download it on our site, cyberbackermaryland.com/take5. It's exactly what Diana was describing, in the sense that you want to sit down and have a conversation with your team, the people that you bring on, talk to them about their business goals and personal goals, and then figure out how you can help them achieve it as a leader. It helps take you through that conversation. And then finally, if you haven't done it yet, and mark some other dates down. I'm going to talk about that Take 5 on our next mastermind. Going to get some people together and talk about how they have really impactful one-on-ones with their team, and how those impactful one-on-ones really help to drive their business. And then we have a business planning workshop coming up in November. So put them both on your calendar so we can talk about what we're going to do to grow. If growing means hiring, we'd love that you consider Cyberbacker. You can scan this and reach out to Shara. We've got a couple of our panelists are also Cyberbacker clients and using virtual assistants. In fact, 3 of our panelists have virtual assistants. And so if virtual assistants and tasks are something that could help you move forward, definitely set up some time to talk to Shara. And other than that, I didn't share my info at the beginning of the call, but if you do want to reach out to me, have any questions that you want to talk to directly, or think you'd be a great panel for a future mastermind, feel free to email me or call me or text me. I don't always check my phone during the day, but I do get back to everybody by the end of the day. So thanks everybody for joining. And y'all have been amazing. Diana, Ken, Nick, Ryan, thank you so much. This is a little bit different than what we usually do. It's a format that I've really been leaning to moving to. We have is just amazing. And I got so much out of talking to you guys one-on-one for this call. I'm going to selfishly start doing this from now on, so I can talk to power players and learn. Thank you both. Thank you all. Thank all 4 of you much.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll let you get back to the day then. Have a good one.
Have a great day.
Take care.
This new road is gonna lead to better days.